Greetings, I'm Professor K, and in this short video presentation, we're going to take a look at the parts of the penetration testing final report. Regardless of the cybersecurity exam that you decide to take, the vendor that's going to provide it, you are going to see questions regarding the documentation and the reporting of the pen testing final report. If you look at the topics that are covered on your cybersecurity exam, you will find that there is a domain for documentation and reporting. Documentation and reporting procedures for a pen test are based on industry standards, and that is going to remain constant regardless of the cybersecurity exam or the cybersecurity track that you choose for your certification. As a minimum, on a pen testing final report, you're going to have a title page, a table of contents, the executive summary, the methodology, the findings and remediation, and a conclusion. In addition to all that, you may have additional sections. Some reports will have an appendix, some will have an abstract, some will have an introduction. There may be other parts to the final report, but the industry standard for a penetration test final report is what you see here. Let's take a look at these individual parts of the final report and see what you can expect to find in them. On the title page, you're going to find the name of the company or the person who performed the pen test and authored the report. This should also show a version number and a date for the report. Now this is important because there's going to be many different drafts for this final report, and the final report may go to the client and then be kicked back for revision. So that version number or that revision number on the report is something that you can use to track which version of the report you're now giving to the client. The next page of the report should be the table of contents. This specifies the page references for each of the other parts of the report. Here's an example of what you can expect to see with the pen testing final report. You're going to have a nicely formatted cover page, and on the next page you should have the table of contents, but as I stated earlier, that could be an abstract or an introduction. The next section of the report would be the executive summary. The executive summary is for the upper level management or the executive team. This is normally something that they can digest in as little as 10 to 15 minutes. It is written after the rest of the report has been written. The executive summary will contain key information that you would like to communicate to the executives. In the executive summary, you should discuss the methodology used, key tasks performed, and high-level overview of finding recommendations. A couple of key points here. You want to make sure that you don't use any acronyms, and if you do use acronyms, make sure you spell them out. You do want to provide a high-level flyover of the risk and the potential business impact, but you do not want to get too technical. This reflects the state of the organization and its security posture at that point in time, and you're presenting the key findings, not everything. This is just a summary of what your report is going to contain. You'll also make some recommendations with risk mediation in the executive summary, and you can include visuals in the form of charts, graphs, and risk grids. The following is an example of what your executive summary might look like. You're breaking down the overall report into a summary that non-technical executives can handle. Next, we have the methodology that was used during the pen test. You may be doing a black hat, a gray hat, or a white hat type assessment. You may be part of a red team, a blue team, or some other team. So that is all part of the methodology that you need to describe. So in this section of the report, you're going to talk about the types of pen testing that were performed, steps taken during each phase of the pen test, and how the attacks were carried out. The next section in the report will be findings and remediation. This is going to detail the security issues that were found. It's also going to provide remediation steps to fix those issues. So for each issue that you discovered, there should be at least one paragraph, if not two, that not only describes the issue, but provides a remediation on how to patch or fix that issue. The last required section of the report will be the conclusion. Here you can summarize the results and identify any parts of a typical penetration test that were skipped and that the company may want to do in the future. Some reports, depending on the size, can have an appendix. And here you can list the tools that were used. And this section of the report can also contain screenshots, charts, and graphs and tables to keep the size of the report more manageable. Once your final report is ready for the client, you want to make sure that you safeguard it and that you keep it secure. So any sensitive data about the client and the penetration testing team's activities should be encrypted in transit and at rest. Now, the industry de facto standard for this is PGP, though not all organizations will have PGP available. Depending on the cybersecurity exam that you're taking, you may see some mention on the exam about secure multipurpose internet mail extensions. That is an alternative to using PGP. You also want to identify those authorized to receive the report. Communication between representatives of the team and the client should be secure, and data retention policies should be clearly communicated to the client organization. Here's a little added value that is based on nothing more than my experience as a pen tester. Pen testers are expected to be more than just proficient using Microsoft Word and Excel, and that's something they don't teach you in any cybersecurity course. But during the job interview and during the job, you are expected to be able to know more than a normal user about Microsoft Word and Excel. And the more you know about Microsoft Excel, the more valuable you are as a pen tester. I've seen people who couldn't pen test that were on the pen testing team because of their knowledge of using Microsoft Excel. The fun part was doing the pen test, going to a client's site and finding all those vulnerabilities and being able to ask for permission and getting permission to attack those vulnerabilities. Well, that's the fun part. When you get back to the office, now the work begins. Any final report can take sometimes as long as 3 weeks to generate. And depending on the client and the length of the pen test, the final report can be as long as 500 pages, and I've seen them 500 pages and more. So when you get back to the office, you can expect to work late and on weekends and until that final report is finalized. Let's go ahead and test our knowledge. In this question here, someone requests a copy of the penetration final report, but the individual is not listed as a point of contact or signatory. Which of the following is your best course of action? The correct answer is reply and explain to the individual that proper authorization is needed to provide the report. Next, which of the following is the most important follow-up activity to complete after the tester delivers the report? And the answer is presenting annotations of the findings. Next question. During a physical security review, a penetration report given to a client was found discarded in the trash. Which of the following should be implemented to prevent this from happening in the future? And the correct answer is B. Ensure corporate policies include guidance on the proper handling of sensitive information. And lastly, here are my resources, some of the resources that I used to put this presentation together. And so in this short video presentation, you learned about what parts make up the penetration testing final report. I'm Professor K. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.